Welcome everyone to another mathematics session. O'Neil McLeod is my name, and for today's class, we'll be looking at the measures of central tendencies from frequency table. Now, before we actually start looking at our calculation as it relates to the measures of central tendencies, we want to remind ourselves of the measures of central tendency. What are the measures of central tendency? These are statistical averages, namely the mode, the median, and the mean. In previous classes, we would have looked at how we go about calculating those from raw data. But in the case that the data is organized, the data is in a frequency table, how do we go about calculating those? And that is what we'll be focusing on today. Now, on the board here, we have a question. It says, the scores obtained by 20 students on a test are shown below. So here we have the scores. 20 students did this exam and the scores are listed here. Now, from previous classes, you would realize that this data is considered to be raw data. It's unorganized. Now, data in this sense is very, very difficult for us to make much sense of. Therefore, we need to organize our data so that we are better able to analyze. Now, from that, it says we should show the data in a frequency table. This is one way that we can actually organize our data using the frequency table. After that, we will, from the frequency table, we will determine the mode, the median, and the mean. As was mentioned, these are the measures of central tendency. Now, let us just look back at the mode, the median, and the mean. Now, we know that when it comes on to the mode, it speaks to the most frequent occurring value. The most frequently occurring value. The median. Now, the median is our central measure, the middle value. However, it's not just any middle value. The scores or the measures will have to be first arranged in ascending or descending order. Now, when we speak about the ascending order, we're saying that we start from the lowest and go up to the highest. Descending is from the highest to the lowest. Then we look at the mean. Now, the mean is our average, all right? Arithmetic average. And we know to calculate the mean, we find the sum of all the frequency divided by the number. We find the sum of all the measures divided by the number of measures. Now, in the interest of time, I went ahead and I started the frequency table. Now, we're going to complete our frequency table. Now, if you look at the raw data here, you'd realize that the lowest score would have been 1, while the highest score would have been 10. So the scores are now arranged in the first column here in ascending order, from the lowest to the highest. Now we need to look at the frequency now. Now the frequency is how often does that score really appear? That's what we're going to look for. Now, to do that, my advice to you is that when you're checking those scores, use some sort of symbol, some sort of marking to mark those scores that you're paying attention to so that you don't make mistakes. All right. Now, the first score we want to look at is 1. Now, when I look up there, I will go in this row and I realize that there's a 1 here. So what I'm going to do is just to put a little marker at the top of it. Put a little marker at the top of it. I will not use that marker again for any other score. I will look again. I realize that there is no other 1, so 1 appear 1 time. So I go and I put my frequency in. Going to the score of 2. Now I come here and I'm going to circle my 2's. There's another one here. I come across, don't see any more. So 2 appears 2 times. Let's go to 3. So 3, I could put a box around it, a rectangle. So I'm coming here. There are no more 3's. So 3 appears 1 time. What about 4? Now I could try another shape. I could try the triangle. Could try triangle here. So that's 1, 2. So 4, let me check again. 4 appear 2 times. What about 5? I'm running out of shapes now. So I'm going to use my asterisk. I use my asterisk. That's 1, 2, 3. We don't have any more up there. So 5 appears 3 times. What about 6? I can tick my 6. All the 6's up here. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. I'm going to 7. Now, let's use, what can we use? Let's use a little dot for 7. That's 1, that's 2. So 7 appears 2 times. What about 8? So we can use our squiggly. I use this little thing as squiggly. So I can use my squiggly there, my squiggly there, my squiggly there, and my squiggly there. No more 8, so 8 appears 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So that's 4. How many 9's we have up there? 1 9, so that is 1. How many 10? 1. Now, there we go. We would have completed the frequency table here from our raw data. We complete the frequency table there from our raw data. However, we want to ensure that what we did there was correct. How do we go about doing that? Now, what we're going to do, first and foremost, since there are 20 students, there are 20 measures that we're dealing with. What we're going to be doing now is to check our frequency. Our frequency must be equal to the number of measures that we're actually dealing with. So let's check. So that is 1, that's 3, 4, 6, 9, that's 12, that's 14, that's 18, and that's 20. So what we're actually saying here is that the sum of the frequency is equal to 20. Now we have that covered. Yes, we're on the right track. Now we're ready to calculate the mode, the median, and the mean from the frequency table. However, what we'll be doing in this lesson is that we're going to use the raw data here. We're going to use the raw data to help us as it relates to the calculation with the median and the mean. I want you to understand fully why we do what we're going to do with the frequency table. So when we use our raw data, it will give you a better understanding as it relates to the calculation from the table. Now, let us try and understand the table first and foremost. Now, in this column here, we have our scores. In this column here, this will represent the frequency. Now remember, as it relates to the frequency actually tells us how many times a particular score appears. So in other words, we're saying the score of 1 only appears 1 time. The score of 2 appears 2 times. So forth, the score of 7 appears 2 times. So the frequency indicates how often these scores over here appear. Now, with that said, it's now easy for us to find the mode from the frequency table. With that said, it's very easy for us to find the mode from the frequency table. As was mentioned before, the mode is the most frequent occurring value. The mode is the most frequent occurring value. Now, let's see what is the mode. Now, to find the mode from the frequency table, what we will do is to look in our frequency column. What is it that we're looking for? We're now looking for the highest frequency. We're looking for the highest frequency. So here, when I look in the frequency column, I realize that my highest frequency is 4. Students, please note, this is not the mode. This is not the mode. Good? So we find the highest score, the highest frequency. Now, here, this is actually telling you that there's a particular score that appears 4 times, and that is higher than any other score. So what do we do in this case? Now, when we find the highest frequency, all we need to do is to see which score appears that number of times. In this case, the mode would be 8. So that's very, very easy. Look for the highest frequency and the score that corresponds to the highest frequency, then that would have been your mode. So we can write that down. Let's find somewhere to write that down. Let's go here. The mode is equal to 8. The mode is equal to 8. All right, so that was pretty easy. Now, the next thing we want to do is to find the median. The next thing we want to do is to find our median. Now, as was said before, that the median would have been the central or the middle value when the scores are arranged in ascending order or descending order. Now, as was mentioned before, that we're going to use our raw data to help us as it relates to the calculation for the mean and also the median. Now, so what we're going to do is to use our raw data first to actually find the median, and then we go to the table. Now, the score of 1, it appears 1 time. So I'm going to write that out. So 1. 2 appears 2 times. 3 appears 1 time. 4 appears 2 times. 5 appears 3 times. 6 appears 3 times. 7 appears times. 9 appears 1 time, and 10 appears 1 time. So we actually went ahead and we write out the scores in ascending order. All right, so we write out the scores in ascending order. So we can just separate those. All right, so we have them there. Now, previously, we looked at the median position formula. The median position formula. Now, we're going to use our median position formula to assist us. So the median position, we get that by doing n plus 1 divided by 2. The median position formula, n plus 1 divided by 2, where n represents the number of measures or the total frequency, where n represents the number of measures or the total frequency. So when we put that in, we have 20 plus 1 divided by 2. Now 20 plus 1 will give me 21. 21 divided by 2 will end up giving me 10.5. Now here, this is not the median. This is actually indicating to us where to find the median. Now, because we actually end up with a decimal number, 10.5, what this is actually saying here is that the median will fall between two positions. It will fall between two positions. It will fall between the 10th and the 11th position. So the median will fall between the 10th and 11th position. So all we need to do now is to identify the 10th and 11th position and to see which score would be in those positions. Now again, I want to also explain to you that this will only happen when there's an even set of measures. When there's an even set of measures. So notice we have 20 measures dealing with. So in that case, we're going to find two values in the middle. So let's go. So this is the first position, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. So this one is in your 10th position. In the 10th position. This one now would be in 11th position. Now, since we now know the two values that are in the 10th and 11th position, we can now find the median. What do we do in this case? In this case, when we have two values appearing in the middle, we take the average of those two. So, therefore, the median here is equal to 6 plus 6 divided by 2. 6 plus 6 will give me 12. 12 divided by 2 will give me 6. So in other words, we're saying 6 is the score that appears in the middle. And that's easy when we have the raw data dealing with. But not all the time we're going to get a small set of data values that we can actually write out. You're doing an exam sometime and it's time bound. And if you get a lot of measures, you will be wasting time writing them out just to find the median. So if they're in a frequency distribution table, we should be able to find it also. Therefore, we're now going to look to see how we go about finding it from the frequency distribution table. All right, so let's go, students. Now that we have done that, we already know that the median is 6. So we're going to do it from our frequency distribution table. So let's get that out. Now, to find the median from the frequency distribution table, the first thing we're going to be doing here is to start out with the median position formula. So we would have done this just the same. Now, getting the 10.5, as was mentioned before, indicates to us that the median will fall between the 10th and 11th position. But from the table, how do we go about finding those positions? Very, very simple. Now, notice here, we're going to look here. Now, this is saying that the score of 1 appears only one time. So if I'm going to write out my scores, then 1 would take up the first position. 1 will take up the first position. So what I can do here is to write down, I could write it here. So 1 will take up the first position. So the first position is already taken up. Now let's go to 2, the score of 2. Now 2 appears 2 times. So in terms of the position that 2 will actually take up, you can't take up the first because the first is already taken up by 1. So 2 will now take up the second and the third position. So we can write it as the second and the third position. All right. 3, that will now take up the fourth position. So we can go on like that. Fourth position. Now 4 will take up the fifth and the sixth position. So this will take up the fifth and the sixth position. 5 will now take up what? The 7, the 8, and the 9 position. And that is because 5 appears 3 times. So notice the 6th position is already taken up here. So 5 will start in the 7th, the 8th, and end up in the 9th position. Here, 6 appears 3 times also. So it will take up the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th position. So the 10th, 11th, and the 12th positions. Those are the positions that 6 will actually take up. Now, what are the positions that we're looking for again? We're looking for the 10th and also the 11th position. So in this case, we don't need to go any further because we would have now identified the positions that we're looking for and what score lies in those positions. Yes, the score of 6. So 6 is in the 10 and 6 is also in 11. What should we do? All we're going to do now is to take the average of those two. Now, I can also say to you that if you decide to check from here, going in that position, let's say you're thinking about it in ascending order, descending order. If I start checking the position going up, you will end up finding out that 6 will fall in the 10th and 11th positions just the same. So any direction that you're going from, so if you go from that direction going that way, then it will work. If you're going from that in that direction, it will work just the same. So that is how we go about finding the median from our frequency distribution table. Now, I just want to also point out to you that for this table, it is ungrouped. It's ungrouped. And the reason why it is ungrouped, there's not a grouping of the data. In the next class, we'll actually learn as it relates to the grouping of the data and why we group it. In this case, because we have a small number of measures, there's no need for us to group the data. All right. So I do hope that you understand how we go about calculating the median from our frequency table. Now, it's now time for us to do the calculation for the mean, for the average. All right. Now, what I'm going to do here is just to do a little cleaning up here so that I can get some more space to do the work. So I'm going to clean up that part, and we can clean that part. Okay, good. Now we have some space to work with. Now, to calculate the mean, Now, in previous class, you learn how to calculate the average. And to calculate the average when you're given like the raw data, you would go ahead and you would add up all the scores. You would add up all the scores. And then you would divide it by the number of scores that you have there. Now, let us see how we would go about calculating the mean from this set of data that we have here. Now, what we're going to do is to add up all of these. We're going to add all of those. Now, in adding those, what I'm going to do for you is to add in groups. I'm going to add in groups. So like we have a group of 4 here, I'm going to do that addition first. A group of 2, I'm going to do that addition first. So forth and so on. All right, because that is going to help us. Now, 1, we only have 1 time. So we put 1 down. So it's 1 plus. Here we have 2 times. So it becomes 2 plus 2, which gives me 4. Here we only have 1, 3. So we put plus 3. 4 plus 4 will give me 8. 5 plus 5 plus 5 will give me 15. Plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 will give me 18. Plus 7 plus 7 will give me 14. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 will give me 32. Plus, we only have 1 9, so that we put it there. Plus 1 10, so we put it there. Okay, great. Now we can go ahead now and we can add all of those scores now. So this will be 5, 8, that would be 16, that would be 31. So 31 plus 18, that will give me 49. 49 plus 14, that will give me 63. No, 63 plus 32, that would give me 95. 95 plus 10 will give me 105. 105 plus 9 will give me 114. Good. So in all, when I add up all of these here, I will end up with 114. Great. Now, what is it that we will do now with our sum here? Now, since we add up everything here, we got 114, then we can say our mean is equal to 114 over 20. This will give me 5.7. 5.7. Let me just check that to be certain about that. Let me just check that, please. All right, so I'm here, my calculator, 114 by 20. Yes, very good. So that will give me 5.7. So here, my mean here would have been 5.7. And that is calculating the data, the mean from the raw data. Now, why is it important that we understand this aspect of it? Now, notice here, when I add in groups, there's something that is happening here when I add in group. Now, this type of addition is called repeated addition. This type of addition, repeated addition, repeated addition, repeated addition. All the groups that we see there, they are repeated addition. Now, repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication. Repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication. Now, instead of adding 2 times, I could just easily multiply the 2 by the 2 and I would end up getting 4. Now 1 is by itself. I could multiply 1 by 1, the multiplicative identity. It won't change anything, so I get back 1. I will multiply 3 by 1, it gives me back 3. If I multiply 4 by 2, because there are 2 of them, I will get 8. 5 times 3 will give me 15, all of that. So I could put it at the top there, and I could put 1 multiplied by 1, 2 multiplied by 2, 3 multiplied by 1, 4 multiplied by 2, 5 multiplied by 3, and it goes on like that. Now, here, we're saying, since we could carry out the multiplication that represent the group addition, we could have done that from the table. Notice here, 1 times 1. I could have done it right here. 1 times 1, which would give me the 1. 2 times 2, I could have done it right here. So that's what we would have done. 3 times 1, see it right here. 4 times 2, it's right here. So we could have done all of that from the table. So let's go there now and do our multiplication there. Now, here, this is your frequency. This is your frequency. Over here, we have our scores. And we're saying that we're going to multiply the frequency by the score. Notice here, we're using X to represent the score. So what would be our title for that column? Good. It would be FX. So all I'm going to put here would be my FX. That means the frequency multiplied by the score. So let's go and we're multiplying. So that would give me 1, that would give me 4, that would give me 3, that would give me 8, 15, 18, 14, 32, 9, and 10. So now, if you look at that table now, you realize that we'll have gotten all of these numbers that we have down here in that column. What did we do next? We went ahead and we add up all of these and we got 114. So we can do that just the same from our table. Now, what is it that we call these things inside here? Yes, we call them our FX. These are our FX values. So therefore, since we're going to add them, we use our symbol, which is the summation symbol, the sum of, so it becomes the sum of FX. Now the sum of FX, when we add them up, we will now get what? 114. Now, by looking at the table here, do you realize that we would have now come up with a formula for the mean from a frequency distribution on group table? We now come up with a formula from a frequency distribution for the ungroup table, because it is going to be 114 divided by 20. But the 114 here is really the sum of FX, and the 20 here is now the sum of F. Therefore, we can now write it down as the mean is equal to the sum of Fx divided by the sum of F. Now, what is the sum of Fx? Now, the sum of Fx is 114, while the sum of F is now 20. So we just do our substitution there, and then we can now calculate our mean, which we already know that it is now 5.7, and that is our average. Now, it very, very simple. Maybe not for the first time. When you try it for the first time, it might be a little bit tedious. However, when you start doing a lot more practicing, it becomes very, very simple. So I encourage you students to just practice the things you learn. You can do well at this subject. And that is where we have to leave you for today. See you at the next class. I thank you.